Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Jedi Knights Watch. My name is Graham, and today I am super excited to introduce to you the Moduspace Mono. The new case from Moduspace is finally here. I have the prototype to test and review for you. I'm going to talk about what it took to assemble this thing as well. I'm going to talk about some things that I like about it, some things maybe not so much, some things that could be improved upon. I'm going to pin it up against the Blaliden or the Blaliden as well and let you know which one I prefer in my honest opinion. First off, I want to invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you don't miss any more Moduspace videos coming your way. Very big shout out to Brian from Moduspace. Thank you so much for allowing me to test this product and review it and give my honest opinion about it. I am an affiliate with Moduspace, but if you guys know me, I try to be as honest as possible, but at the same time, you know that I love Modu cases because my whole room is full of them. So I'm going to try to be as non-biased as possible, let you know again what I like and what I don't like, what could be improved. But here it is right behind me. It is the Mono. It's finally here. I remember Brian telling me about this back in November, and I've been bugging him to let me try this out and test it and see what it's all about. And today is finally here, so let's get into it. And let's just start by talking about the build and what it took to put this together. So the package arrived at my house and it was a bigger box than I expected it to be, but one box, not two, like Modu cases sometimes come with the package, but then another package for the lights. This is all in one. It looked rough, to say the least, too. I was glad nothing was broken inside, but no instructions were here. You know, Brian wanted to see if I could put this together without any instructions, so I did my best, and I thought I did pretty well since it seems like I did it right. But I laid everything out. I started from the base and then worked my way up, so I kind of took the back bars and I put those in, and I used these pieces here for the screws just to support it better going into the wood. And then I slipped the back panel in once I had those back bars on. And then I started putting the side plexiglass panels on, and peeling is definitely my least favorite thing to do when building these Modu cases or this Mono. And then I started doing the front bars. You want to make sure that the magnets are showing and that the lip is on the outside, and I just screwed those in. And then you have the bottom bar and the top bar. You can put the screws on the sides and then they slide into the channel, and then you could slide those in and then tighten them up. And then this is kind of what we're looking at from that point on. We're going to then screw the feet on, and once we do that, we just tip the thing up. And then I put the top piece on, and again, it was just like the plates with the screws again, so really super easy. And again, I didn't have any instructions, so for the most part it's pretty self-explanatory, to say the least. And here we have the shelf brackets as well, and they have like that suction cup looking thing there on the top, so those are interesting. And then we have the pieces. If you've had Modu cases before, a lot of this stuff is kind of reused, and it's interesting to see how Brian kind of reused some of this stuff and made it do different things. So these again were loose. The screws turned out to be too long, so those will be shortened for the finished product. The one pain was that I had to manually adjust the shelves and get them level to the point for each one, so it was time consuming. It's not something I like to do. It's not the end of the world, and I think it is a small price to pay to be able to adjust the shelves to whatever height that you need them to be. So here we are. We have all the shelves in. And the next thing is to put the lighting in. So here we have our power adapter, we have the cables, and basically we can use the cable on the right to hook up both lights. I came in through the bottom on both sides and just hooked them each up, and here they are. They're super long. They're just like the other cases, but really long. And then you do have the channel here to put in at the bottom, just to kind of hide the wire a little bit and do a little bit of maintaining there. The lights are super bright. I think they're too bright. We're going to work with Brian on that, making them either not as bright or at least having a dimmer option. Here you can see it's all finished being put together, and it's all lit up, and it looks really nice. And I gotta say, the one thing that comes to mind is just polished off. This thing looks really nice and polished off. So let's talk about some of the features with the Mono, and maybe some frequently asked questions as well. Some people are wondering if this is going to be a pre-order, and technically it's not. There's going to be 200 units available by the end of April, so they're going to start taking orders probably about the second week of April. And then they'll be shipping it out shortly after that. So every batch as of now will be having 200 units. And then each batch will take about 6 to 8 weeks to arrive. That is subject to change, obviously. The ordering is different compared to Modu cases because the Mono it's a much simpler build and it's easy to manufacture, and they subcontract it out. So that's why they're doing 200 limits per, I guess, shipment or batch, if you will. So the shelves are actually going to be reversible. On the top, you have that felt, and then on the bottom, you have like a black laminate. So it's really cool that you can kind of decide which one you want to use. Also, they are going to have plexiglass shelves that you can buy separately eventually down the road. And that's going to be nice too for viewing angles. You're going to be able to see your figures a lot easier. The really nice thing about these shelves too is that they have a 22-pound weight capacity. Just comparing that to my Blalidens, that's 7 pounds. So huge difference right there, and a big win for the Mono. Now everybody's used to the Modu cases being stacked, so obviously this cannot be stacked. You would set them side by side. And some optional items that the Mono has is, again, the clear plexiglass shelves, a riser for a single Mono, and a riser cupboard for 4 Monos. So that's pretty cool too. So I'm sure you're wondering, how does this compare to other cases like the Detolf or the Blaliden? And that's a good question, and I'm glad you asked. I'm going to focus more on the Blaliden just because the Detolf is discontinued and it's going to be harder and harder to get as we go into the future. But this was built to be about the same size as the Detolf. So right away, right off the bat, that's already a plus for the Mono. It's going to be bigger than the Blaliden. Now I know the Blaliden is great for small spaces, but at the same time, this is only going to be a few inches deeper and wider. So at the same time, it's a little bit bigger, but it's still going to be small, and it's still going to be compact, and it's still going to hold more figures than the Blaliden does. Big factor too is this is also going to be about 6 to 7 inches taller, 7 inches taller than the Blaliden. So the thing that I struggled with the Blaliden cases was that my figures' heads were kind of getting cut off because the ceiling is very low, and then when you put the Luke lights in, that aluminum channel bar gets even lower, so you lose a lot of visibility. So another win for the Mono. Next is quality. I gotta say, like, the Blaliden is a lot cheaper than the Mono, but at the same time, you really see kind of how cheap it is. And I just feel like this is so elegant and it feels premium, and it's got a nice look to it too. Like, it doesn't just look like a plastic case or a cheap metal case. It really looks like a cabinet that you would put in your home, and I think that's a really good word, is a cabinet, not a case. The other thing is when I close the Blaliden doors, it just, sometimes the doors are warped, or the magnets don't hold very well. You can just feel how it's a thin metal and there's really not much to it. The Mono, again, it just feels that premium. It's heavy duty. It's not overly heavy, but it just feels a lot better, I guess, compared to the Blaliden. And I do think it looks better too. Also, another win for the Mono is you don't have to add the dust proofing or the lighting yourself. This thing comes packed to the 9 with all that stuff. You get it in your house, you put it together, and you're done. You don't have to go buy lights. You don't have to buy weather stripping. You don't have to buy wire cable channel hiders to hide the cables. So let's think about it. So the price is going to be on the Mono. We're looking at probably around $220 plus shipping. Okay, so UPS shipping. It's not going to be like shipping for the Modu cases. It's going to be a lot cheaper than that. Brian told me from UPS what it would cost roughly for me is probably about $25. So that's really not that bad when you consider it. So if they can keep this price point to $220, you're looking at $245 all in, okay? The Blaliden was $80 for the case. The Luke lights were $35. If you want to get the V channels, the aluminum channels, that's another $30. Plus shipping for the Luke lights was another like $25 to $28. Then weather stripping is probably going to be another $8 to $10. Double-sided tapes, another $5, $6. And then the cable hiders are probably going to be another $10 as well. So all in for that, you're looking at $195. So if we count shipping for the Mono and we're looking at $245, it's a $50 extra. For me, it is so worth paying the extra $50 because of the quality that you're getting with this Mono. And I think it's minimal. I mean, I know people talk about how overpriced module cases are, but I've really never seen anybody complain once they get their cases in hand. And this is not different at all, because once you get it and you're like, wow, this is really nice. And once they work out the kinks, this is going to be even better. So for me personally, I would pick the Mono over the Blaliden. I would probably give this case a 9 out of 10. And I think I would give the Blaliden about a 6.5 or a 7. So it's not bad, and it's a good alternative, and I can understand people that want to get it right away and they just want the cheaper version. That's perfectly fine. But again, with this, it's going to be subcontracted out, so shipping should be a lot quicker. So keep that in mind as well. All right, guys, so we've talked about the build, we've talked about the features, we've pinned it against the Blaliden, we've talked about price. Now I'm just going to talk about some things that I like about this case and some things that I don't like. Obviously, I've mentioned probably a lot of them already. It feels premium and it looks elegant. Like I said before, this is more of a cabinet than a case. It's a piece of furniture. It's not just a case like a Modu case that is more so like just made for the use. This is also made for the looks. Also, the size and the look is just a nice change of pace compared to the Modu cases themselves. The weight capacity on the shelves is awesome. 22 pounds per shelf is amazing. You really don't have to worry about overstuffing these guys unless you're going to put like statues or something like that. Also, the shelves themselves are fully adjustable. Even though they were a pain, it is nice to be able to adjust them to whatever height that you need. I think the lights and how the lights are installed is a great concept, because the way that they're installed, it allows you to still adjust those shelves up and down, whereas like the Blalidens, you can't really do that because of the cable management. It's not heavy and it's easy to move, so you don't have to worry about like taking it all apart and, you know, moving it across the room. It's really easy to just lift and go. And the biggest thing that I like about this is it's all set up. You have the lights included. It's already dust proofed. You don't have to worry about cable management. The channels come with it. It's all set to go. You don't have to go buy the case and then go out of your way to go buy the lights and everything else. You don't have to worry about that with Moduspace. It's all set for you. Now for some of the issues that I found testing this case. The power adapter that came with it definitely wasn't powerful enough. It was overheating and then the lights started blinking, which to me meant that it was like a warning that it was overheating. Luckily, I did have a bigger adapter from Moduspace themselves that I've plugged in, and since it's been running perfectly fine, I did note this to Brian and he's going to make the change. So no worries there. The shelves took a long time to get just right. It is a pain to install them because you do have to kind of take your tape measure and measure perfectly to make sure they're level and all that stuff, but it's kind of a small price to pay to be able to adjust all of your shelves to the height that you want. But the brackets themselves weren't tightening, they were swiveling because I noted this to Brian too, and he said that it sounds like the screws are too long, so he's going to make a note to shorten those up. So again, that won't be an issue going forward either. I think the lights might be too bright. I think when you're looking, they're so close to the figure and they're so bright that I think they're too bright. So I think a dimmer down the road would be great for this. Otherwise, if they can just do something not so bright, I think that would help a lot too. Mentioned that to Brian as well, so I do have trust that that will get fixed as well. And price could be an issue, but I think if they can keep this at the $220 point, it is a fair price. And if shipping is not going to be much more than like $25, I do think there is a lot of value in a case like this for some people. I've talked to Brian about this, and I think if this is closer to the $250, $260 range, if it's me personally, I'd rather just get some Modu cases. If I'm building like a whole wall, right? But if for me personally, like I only need a couple because I'm putting them in a small area. If this is at the 220 range, I think the value is there and it makes sense for me to get it, and they look nice and elegant. I think it's totally worth it, especially when you compare it to the Blaliden and the all-in price for that too. It's really not that much more expensive. So overall, again, I am super happy with this case. It is a 9 out of 10 for me. I can't wait to see some of these minor issues just tweaked, and then we see this full version of it released. Again, look for it in mid to late April. There's going to be a few available, and then possibly like every 8 weeks after that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this video down below. Let me know what you think about the Mono. Would you prefer the Mono or Modu cases. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you and just give me your thoughts on this case itself. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.